signing day is quickly approaching, and before we get into some of these specific players, so what's been your take on West Virginia's class as a whole? Solid, average? Where do you see it falling?
I think it's somewhere between average and solid. Like any class, there's some players that you really like. The potential of a couple kids that maybe aren't ranked high, but have much higher ceilings. But their inability to help out on the get any help on the D line so far, and the heavy reliance on junior college kids is a bit of a concern for me, because I think Kansas State has done a great job of getting JUCO kids and to contribute, but it's tough, man. It's tough when you're trying to live off of JUCOs and fill a lot of holes. Most times it doesn't work out as well as you'd like. So I think from that standpoint, a little bit disappointment on my side.
Okay, Brian, let's dive into individuals now. One of the most talked about is Tyler Boyd. Give us our update on that.
Yeah, no kidding. But, yeah, I mean, with Tyler, I still think at this point, Pittsburgh's the school to beat. I know he was at West Virginia last week, and West Virginia was on him hard. He's going to Tennessee this weekend, as of now, because, these things change by the minute. But the thing that I keep going back with Tyler is he loves West Virginia's offense, and that's what's got him intrigued about West Virginia. The flip side is his mom wants him at home at Pittsburgh. He's got friends going to Pittsburgh. The coaching staff at Clarendon, if you ask me which way they wanted him, I think they want him at Pittsburgh. So it kind of has your work cut out for you if you're West Virginia or Tennessee. And now if you're West Virginia, you've got your last look at him. You don't get to see him anymore. He goes to Tennessee, he comes back, you can talk on the phone and everything, but, it's all set up for Pittsburgh. I think he's going to have to. I think it would be a surprise to a lot of people if he didn't wind up with Pittsburgh.
Brian, as a guy who does Northeast and Mid-Atlantic area, obviously that's your forte. Other than Tyler Boyd, many others out there, and probably specifically towards West Virginia University, any others out there that are still, maybe they've got a commitment online but are still trying to decide exactly what they want to do before they finalize next Wednesday?
No, I mean, if you're looking at kids with West Virginia in mind, no. I mean, there was some talk of there's a running back out of New York, LeRae Smith. He's an outstanding track kid, one of the best 300 and 400 meter kids in the country. At one time, West Virginia was looking at him pretty hard, and it looked like he was going to visit. That's no longer the case. He's going to Indiana this weekend. His 3 are UConn, Indiana, Syracuse. Other than that, no. And I think for the most part, when you look across the country, there are very few kids still deciding at this point because the recruiting process is so sped up.
Yeah, like you said, there maybe not many kids that will flip, and also, as you just indicated, not a lot of kids that have decisions to be made. Just counting up the scout list of the top 100 players in the East, I think only got 8 they're currently uncommitted. So most of the heavy lifting is done. So any of those 8 that you know of, and LeRae Smith is one of those you mentioned, but any of those others that you think have any chance at West Virginia, or for the most part, and I'm going through the list myself, most of these are not necessarily kids West Virginia's involved with that I know of.
No, and looking at that, I think you're right. And when I go through, the list in my head of not only the top 100, but just kids in the region at this point, unless I'm drawing a blank on something, which, for me could happen, I don't really think there's anybody coming in this weekend on a visit either. I wrote about all the kids that were making visits and still open just in the region, that are Division I A BCS type kids, and other than Boyd, nobody's ringing a bell for me just in terms of still being involved with West Virginia. And for the West Virginia fans out there, I don't want to make it seem like West Virginia is, they've hit this rut in the road. What's going to happen now? They're not getting anybody. Most of the programs are like this, where the last weekend usually is a weekend reserved for kind of walk-ons to make visits and just kind of the final pieces to line up in your recruiting class. I mean, the one player I will mention that's still out there for West Virginia is the quarterback Tanner McAvoy. He's out at junior college. I think it's Arizona Western. He's originally a North Jersey kid, Bergen Catholic, went down to South Carolina. It didn't work out for him on the field or off the field. So he wound up just, transferring out there. And I know he's looking at Wisconsin, West Virginia, Florida. I know there's another school in the mix there. But, West Virginia is pretty hard on him, too. And, he's an unbelievably talented kid. He's a 6'6" quarterback who is a good quarterback and probably, at least in high school, was even a better receiver. Can move and strong arm and all that other stuff. But, I think if West Virginia got him, it would really be kind of like a nice cherry on top of things for them and really be a great way for them to finish off a class.
Speaking with Brian Dohn, Scout.com's Northeast football recruiting analyst. Now, earlier this week, West Virginia did have a commitment to switch to Temple and running back Darryl Williams. What was your take on that switch from West Virginia to Temple for him?
Well, I got to be honest. I was stunned, and my first inclination was that maybe West Virginia dropped him, and that he wasn't gonna that it made more sense for him to be at Temple, because I never had Zaire rated very high, and that's not saying I'm right or wrong. It's just my individual opinion on it. But then as I looked at it and researched and talked to a lot of people involved, he just chose Temple because he was more comfortable. He wasn't comfortable with everything going on with West Virginia, and I think there was some concern that they were going to move him to defense, and he wants to play running back, and they said no, we're going to keep you at running back, but he wanted to make sure that he was going to play running back, and so he went to Temple. And to be honest, I think that's where Zaire belongs, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful nature. I mean, you're going to school for free. Somebody's paying for your education. I mean, I'd sign up for that right now for any of my kids. But I just think that's where he. I never viewed him as a West Virginia caliber type player.
West Virginia does have some kids that are more highly rated on your list. 8 of the top 100, I believe it is, from your top 100 in the East are most
about right.
Most are already enrolled at West Virginia. They enrolled at mid-year, and a couple others that will sign next Wednesday. So, tell us a little bit about some of your favorites out of this class. Maybe even a couple of the under the radars that have already committed to West Virginia that you've seen.
All right, I'm going to start off with Marvin Gross. He's the DN. He's a DN out of Dunbar High in Baltimore, and I saw Marvin at the beginning of his junior year, and he was a long, wiry kid, 6'3"-ish, but just had incredible explosion off the edge. But he weighed like, $195, 200, but he was always in the backfield playing against a good team, and so I kept my eye on him. And I think a kid like him, he'll go play either DN, outside linebacker. He's kind of one of those, new generation hybrid kind of kids that can cover or get to the quarterback, kind of things like that. If you give him 2 years to put weight on, and I know he's not going to come in, or he shouldn't come in and play right away because he's not physically ready, but he's a kid that I think when it's all said and done, if he develops right, like I think he can, I think people can sit there and go, man, why did Scout have him as the 53rd linebacker in the country kind of deal? Because I really think he can be really good. It's just that his body still has some time to develop and some stuff with that. And then on top of it, he's a great kid, too. Another kid, I really like the running back, Wendell Smallwood. And I think it was key for West Virginia to get him in early down there because he was looking at a couple other schools. And I know he took his official to West Virginia, kind of fell in love with things there again, and wound up going in with Tequil Shorts from the same team. Smallwood is a guy who, if you just, throw on a highlight tape, you may not be wowed. But when you watch him over the course of a game and you understand that, a 1-yard gain turns into 3, and he's one of those falling forward, and he's a thick kid, and he can catch the ball, and he's got good feet. I think he's a kid that, he's not the typical burner out of the backfield that, some West Virginia fans may be used to. But I also think he's a kid that could be much more suited to the physical play of the Big 12. And I really like Darryl Worley. I think Worley, he's the safety receiver out of Philadelphia. I don't know where I rated him as a safety because I just thought that his ability to run and just cover ground in the secondary would be huge. And I'm not sure about, he's got to get to be a better route runner and get better hands and all that jazz. But I think he's a kid. He's a track kid too, with very good speed, and he can play physical. I think a kid like him, I really like. And I'll give you one more. That at the start of his senior year, I wasn't a big guy. I wasn't big with Marcel Lassard, kid out of Bloomfield in North Jersey, offensive tackle. He's a legit 6'6"-ish, close to 300 pounds. As a junior, he kind of had heavy feet. He didn't move as well as you'd like. But his senior year, he moved a lot better. He played a lot meaner, in a good sense, where he just knocked some kids down. And once he locked on a block, man, he was done. And I remember watching his senior tape and seeing him at one point in his senior year, and I'm like, man, this kid looks like a different player. And it's really good because he's the kid. He was the first member of West Virginia's class, and he just loves West Virginia and everything about it. And in the day and age where so many kids are tempted to take visits to other places or listen to other coaches, this kid was West Virginia through and through from the beginning. So it's really nice to see him, be able to stick through it. And I look forward to what he's going to be like. I know West Virginia fans will probably hate to hear it, but come 2015, once he gets some time in the weight room and develops a little more and gets a little more flexible, I think he can be a really good player for a couple of years there.
West Virginia's been fortunate and for quite a while to have a pretty good guy behind center, be it Geno Smith or Pat White or whomever, all different styles. And under Dana Holgorsen, the style has been more of a throwing quarterback, but the guy that they got from the high school ranks, and we'll see what happens with Tanner McAvoy from junior college, but the high school kid that's already enrolled, Chavis Rollins, isn't typical of what you would think of with a Dana Holgorsen quarterback. He's a little bit more of a dual threat guy. What have you seen out of him? What do you think his future is at quarterback?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I know everybody wants to know who's going to replace Geno down there, and, good luck to that person, because that's somebody, Geno, obviously, you guys know, is just absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, he's
and I
not
don't
bad.
think people across the nation realize just how good he was.
Yeah.
And they think he was good to begin with, but I don't think they realize just how good he was. But, I think a kid like Rollins, he's going to take some time to develop. He's got to get stronger. I want to see a little bit more arm strength from him. I think you're right. He's going to be able to move around. He's not, it's not going to be Jared Brown, Pat White kind of moving around back there, but he's a kid that you need to have kids, and you look at the Big 12 and the way things went, just with some of the schools this year, you have to be able to move around and get yards with your feet if you're a quarterback, because these defensive players are so quick and get to the quarterback so well that if you don't make them think, that you can get beat with your feet, you're in trouble. And I think Coach Holgorsen probably recognizes that as well. But Rollins is a kid that, it's going to take some time from the strength standpoint, and that will also help his arm strength. What's key with him, though, is he's in school now. He gets to go through spring practice. And I know, maybe some people are excited, can he be the guy? Can he be the guy with spring practice? And I don't care if you're at spring practice or not. If you're a freshman quarterback and you think you're going to be the guy without redshirting a year, that's tough to put a kid in that position. So, but I think, you give him maybe a year or two, and then I think you'll see something a little different than what you've seen in Coach Holgersen's offense before.
Have you seen his brother, Justice Rollins, play as a junior at
Yeah,
Monessen?
I have seen him play.
How good?
He's good. He's good. He's I don't think he's at Chavis's level, but he's good. He's gonna he'll get some offers. But it's a little different when you're a quarterback, and it's a tough time up there, I guess, with the school district and everything too, with the family and Chavis coming down and graduating early and not being able to walk and everything. So he's got to get rid of those distractions as well.
Again, Brian Dohn.
Meeting his brother.
Yeah. Brian Dohn, Scout.com's Northeast football recruiting analyst, joins us. And Brian, we really do appreciate your time. Last thing here for you, I wanted to get your take on Shelton Gibson, wide receiver, 4-star recruit out of Ohio. And he did visit Tennessee after he committed to West Virginia. He still says he's committed to West Virginia. His high school head coach, though, is kind of saying he's not made up his mind yet. What's your take on him and where he eventually winds up?
Yeah, I think at this point, everything he's talking about and everybody you talk to kind of behind the scenes think he's winding up at West Virginia. It's tough to... I'm not going to lie to your audience and say I know this thing, like the back of my hand. But I do know that, when you've got so many people involved and different people talking, you have to know if there's an agenda, and is the high school coach, does he have a better relationship with Tennessee than with West Virginia? I don't know that stuff. I just know the people I talk to and I trust, and from what the kid is telling people, the kid's going to West Virginia. Now, if on signing day his letter of intent winds up in Tennessee, and man, these kids are 17, 18 years old. I mean, things change.
Yeah, we've seen it before. So, all right, Brian.
Yeah, and you'll see it again, and that's kind of what makes it fun, infuriating, frustrating, and, ecstatic all at the same time.
All right, well, we really do appreciate your time. Encourage folks to check your stuff out at scout.com and bluegoldnews.com, the West Virginia Scout affiliate. So we really do appreciate it, and we'll catch back up down the road.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Thank you. There you go. Brian Dohn.